Oh man, game 3 was like a movie. Double overtime victory for the Devils. Was that the turning point? Are they ready to claw their way back into the series? Are they ready to make it more competitive and put the Hurricanes in a uncomfortable position? No. They went back to their old ways like they did in game 1. And it was not a pretty sight. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. We will also hear from Timo, Meier, and Nico Hischier. Buckle up, everybody. Down 3-1.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now. What is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast. Here at the Locked On Network, I'm your host, College Hockey Club play announcer. Devils are our pucks, pitchforks, and also part-time Credential Me member, Trey Matthews. Back from the Prudential Center, covered game 4 of the first round between the Hurricanes and the Devils. And I got this to share. Enjoy the playoffs while they still last, because I don't think the Devils have long. They now trail the series 3-1. They lost in embarrassing fashion. Momentum is not on their side, and there are a lot of things going against them. In the first segment, I will share my main takeaways from the game. Then in the second segment, we will hear from Timo Meier and Nico Hischier. And then in the third and final segment, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade. All right. We know what happened in game number 3. Devils and Hurricanes went into double overtime. Shimon Nemitz was the hero. Got the game-winning goal that sent everybody home happy, or anybody who remained in the Prudential Center as the game progressed, because it was long as hell. But it did come with a price. Johnathan Kovacevic got hurt early in that game. He only appeared in about 6 minutes, and he did not play in game 4. And the problem is that game 4 could have been a momentum swing for the Devils, because if they win this game, then they tie the series 2 games apiece. And then you could go back to Raleigh. And even if you drop it, you're still guaranteed another game at home. So maybe you could tie it up once again, and then it goes into game 7, and a lot can happen. But when you're in a 3-1 deficit, we've seen teams overcome it, but it's rather difficult. And the Devils don't really have much working for them, because not only is Johnathan Kovacevic out, Brendan Dillon still out. Luke Hughes still out. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I doubt we see Dillon or Hughes make an appearance in game 5. I talked to Ken Danico about this, which is, if you're out during the playoffs, that means you're seriously hurt, because everyone is a little banged up when the playoffs roll around. Nobody's at 100%. It takes a lot for a hockey player to say, hey, I don't think I'm good to play in this playoff matchup. It takes a lot. So the fact that the Devils are in a 3-1 deficit, they're dealing with all these injuries, and keep in mind, Dougie Hamilton and Jonas Siegenthaler, they're also recovering from their respective injuries. So the Devils are without 3 of some of their top defensemen, and Hamilton and Siegenthaler are still recovering from their injuries. Obviously, no Jack Hughes. If the Devils make it out of this series by some miracle, they are destined to fail next round. It's just going to get harder, and harder. So anyway, Kovacevic is out. Insert Dennis Cholowski. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding up a Dennis Cholowski bobblehead when he was with the Red Wings. I got this years ago. I think I got this at a thrift store. I just had this randomly. So, uh, rare find, if you ask me, a random bobblehead, but just couldn't help myself. All right, let's shift from defense to offense. Sheldon Keefe was even quoted to say post game that to expect some offensive surge from their bottom six is somewhat unrealistic. So the Devils got to work with what they're being given. But even then, some solid contributors from the regular season, they're not really holding their end of the bargain come the playoffs. Let's look back as to what went wrong in this game for the Devils. In the first period, not even a minute into the game, the Devils sacrificed the first goal to Andrei Svechnikov. So they were already in a hole very early. A few minutes later, Stefan Nason, I love him. He's my guy, but he couldn't clear the puck, and it resulted in Jacob Slavin scoring an unassisted goal to increase the lead to 2. Speaking of a Devils player failing to clear the puck, it was the same flaws from game 1. The Hurricanes were putting heavy pressure on the Devils, keeping them trapped in their own end, couldn't break out, and the Canes were working with an early lead. A few minutes later, Cody Glass scores, or so we thought. It was waved off by the officials. He was deemed offsides. He got a shot on Frederik Andersen, and Jordan Stahl did not like that. Chaos ensues. The referees say no goal. Devils are still scoreless. Come the second period, the Devils began that period on the penalty kill. And Andrei Svechnikov scored his second goal of the game, and it was on the power play, obviously. The Canes have scored 4 power play goals, plus 1 short-handed goal. What have I been saying throughout the past few episodes? Sheldon Keefe has said that it comes down to special teams. The Devils' PK, it hasn't been all that great, despite it being the second best penalty kill in the NHL this regular season. Above them were the Hurricanes. But the power play, I get that the Hurricanes are a really good PK team, but the Devils got to click on something while on the man advantage. That's just wasting opportunities. Then Nico Hischier scored to cut the lead to 2. Something to hold your head high about, at least. And then something interesting happened. Timo Meier bumped into Andersen, and Andersen had to come out the game as a result. Meier was originally given a 5-minute major, but it was later revoked. Now, I really do hope that Andersen is in good spirits and he's ready to go come game 5, because I don't want to see anyone get injured. I really don't. But selfishly, this is an opportunity for the Devils. And let me make this also clear. Meier did not intentionally bump into Andersen. Svechnikov kind of pushed him, and Meier had nowhere to go. And I think that's why the referees revoked that 5-minute major. So out comes Andersen. In comes Pyotr Kochetkov. So you're getting a cold goalie into the game. Maybe the Devils can use that to their advantage. Nope. To Kochetkov's credit, he saw 15 shots and made 14 saves. He did allow a goal to Timo Meier shortly after entering the game, but he was pretty solid going the rest of the way. So he came up clutch for the Hurricanes. And like I said, I hope Andersen is in good spirits. But the Devils were still down 3-2 going into the second intermission. And I kind of knew that they were screwed, because if I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The Devils are only 1-24-2 when trailing after the second. They're not really good at come from behind victories. They're good at closing games when they have a lead going into the second intermission. They're one of the best in the NHL, I would argue. But when it comes to trailing, that's a different issue. Come the third period, the Hurricanes shut the door. Brett Burns, he scored the fourth goal of the game, which pretty much put the game to bed right then and there. And then Andrei Svechnikov, he got the empty netter goal, and that's all she wrote. Svechnikov walked away with a hat trick. He got a goal in the first period, the second period, and the third period, but I don't think any hats were raining inside the Prudential Center. Once again, the Devils got off to a very bad start, and they couldn't recover from it. They made too many simple mistakes. I love Stefan Nason, but he had to do a better job. Jacob Markstrom, he wasn't really sharp in between the pipes. And the Devils aren't really getting that much help when it comes to scoring outside of players like Nico Hischier or Jesper Bratt. And now Timo Meier. Scoring has just been very tough to come by. And at this point, if the Devils score one goal and the Hurricanes still have nothing, they're going to have to find a way to hold on to that 1-0 lead. So this battle between the Hurricanes and the Devils, it is heavily favored the Hurricanes, and the Devils, it seems like they can't get any consistency, any momentum, or any offense to go their way. Those are my main takeaways after witnessing Game 4. All right. We're going to hear from Timo Meier and Nico Hischier momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Okay, let's play some sound bites. Let's first hear from Timo Meier. He spoke on his collision with Anderson. He cleared the air, and he also talked about scoring in this game. Meier has been snake bitten, similar to a lot of his teammates, all series long. It was nice that he was able to break through with a goal. He's been creating the looks for himself and his teammates, just not really much to show for it, but I'm glad that Meier was able to come through if I have to look at any positive manner. So here's what Timo had to say to me and the rest of the media post-game.
Harder on pucks, they were winning more 50-50 battles, and then you get the result for it. But then we came back, came close. We had a lot of momentum, couldn't find the bounce, and then didn't do enough to score the tying game. Now we just got to go win a game in Carolina.
Timo, can you walk through kind of what you saw in the collision with Anderson there?
Yeah, I'm trying to get behind Seshnikov, and then I'm trying to get open for passing lane, and then Seshnikov pushed me in. Obviously, no intent there, and hope he's not injured too bad. So, but yeah, nothing on my side that I could have done different.
Did you feel it seemed like they kind of ramped up with some hits, and I think Orlov tried to get you a little bit after that? Did you feel like the physicality ramped up after that play?
No, I mean it's the playoffs. Everybody's trying to be physical, so no.
Timo, I know we talked about it a lot yesterday, but just the frustration maybe of not being able to capitalize on your man advantage and really, 0 for 12, that has to be a glaring thing for you guys that's putting you in this hole a little bit.
Yeah, a special team is a very important thing in the playoffs, and we got to be better, and that's it.
Where do you feel your line has generated a lot and a lot of times has matched their top line this series? Just where do you feel you guys are at as a line?
You're trying to obviously win your matchups and create momentum and try to get the puck down in their zone and some changes also, and I think we just got to keep going. I think the important thing is that we keep getting better, in the series. And, we know what job is ahead of us. We got to go in Carolina, play a full 60 minutes of our hockey, and then we're going to be fine.
Anything change, Timo, when Pistachios comes in? Was there a different, as far as the playbook on him, knowing what to do, or no, not really, just play your game?
I think overall we got to do a better job of getting pucks inside and getting bodies there. I think we're also maybe a little too cute with some plays. So you look at their goals. They've scored from outside shots, and they kind of go in. So we got to give the puck more chances with more bodies at the net.
What has Palat brought to your line?
What's up?
What has Palat brought to your line?
Yeah, he's. He brings a lot of things. The way he works, the way his attention to detail, offensively, defensively, the stuff he makes away from the puck. He's blocking shots, everything. So he's a very, very good player and a key player for us.
Sorry to ask one more about this, but did you have any concern they were going to rule it a major when you were waiting, I guess, for them to review that?
I mean, I knew that he pushed me in, so I like I said, I couldn't have done anything different. Obviously, it's a tough play, but yeah.
Okay, let's hear from Captain Nico Hischier. Like I said, him, Meier, Bratt, I guess you could say Nemitz now, they have created a lot of scoring chances for their team. They're the only ones scoring in this series. The Devils still have a goose egg in the power play department, and that's very frustrating. That cannot happen. Here's what the captain had to say about his team's efforts and the mindset going into Game 5. Take a listen.
Seems like 5-on-5, you guys are pretty evenly matched. Where's the team's confidence after heading into Game 5? Your 5-on-5 play?
Yeah, I mean, we're fine. We haven't lost the series yet. We just got to go out there, win the road game, and bring the series back here. That's all in my mind right now. The last win for them is the hardest. So for me, obviously, effort wasn't there tonight, especially in the first period. I think that's where the game obviously slipped away from us, and this shouldn't happen. So we focus on to have a really good start in Carolina.
Timo has a big goal tonight. He's been pretty noticeable all series. Just what have you thought of his game this series?
He's made for the playoffs. He's a big body, he makes big hits, he goes to the net. He's just a guy you want to have on your team. He's not a guy to easy check, and he's been great for us. And I know how much he wants to win, and it's good to have him on my line.
As a captain, what are you saying in the locker room to rally the troops together?
It's not done. I mean, like I said, it's the last win for them. It's the hardest, so we go out there, we win a road game. We knew in this series anyways. If we want to win the series here, we have to win in Carolina, so we can do that on Tuesday and bring it back here, and then we go from here.
Do you sense that the group still has that confidence?
Yes.
How much does the power play miss Jack?
Yeah, obviously Jack is a guy you can't replace. He's a guy that makes those little slip plays. He's a guy that sees the ice very well, and obviously, we miss him.
At this point for the Devils, I just want them to make it a competitive series. Just make it tougher on the Hurricanes. And like I said, if by some miracle the Devils are able to come out of this series alive and move on to the second round and erase the 3-1 deficit, which is the most infamous lead in all sports, because you don't want to be on the wrong end of blowing a 3-1 lead. That's never a good thing. But digressing a little bit, the Devils are pretty much screwed, because I don't think Dylan or Hughes are going to return for this series or the rest of the playoffs for that matter. The Devils don't really have much going for them, and they've been plagued with injuries throughout the course of the playoffs. It's not a good feeling right now, but I don't really have a good feeling for this team, but I'm glad that Nico is still trying to rally the troops together. That's all I can say. All right. Let's compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade, and prepare for game number 5. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about wonderful pistachios, because I always love a good snack by my side. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller all day long. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's a perfect grab and go snack for busy days. I'm constantly on the road, constantly in and out of airports, so love wonderful pistachios and what it has to offer. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, let's compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade, and get out of here, even though I really don't want to do this. Shots on goal differential, 29-22 in favor of the Hurricanes. Like I said, that first period was just dreadful for the Devils. They only had 4 shots on Anderson, and it was just a drag to the finish. They generated more shots when Kochetkov came into the game, but they were only able to get 1 goal on him, and I just said the Devils have to tie it in the second period, and they didn't do that. Power plays. Devils were 0 for 2. Big goose egg in the power play department all series long. Hurricanes were 1 for 3, thanks to Andrei Svechnikov in the second. Hits, 35-31 in favor of the Hurricanes. Giveaways, 15-9 in favor of the Devils. Takeaways, 5-3 in favor of the Hurricanes. Block shots, 21-17 in favor of the Devils. Time spent in the penalty box, 16-14 in favor of the Devils. Let's go back to the hits category momentarily, shall we? I think this is the first time this series that the Devils were out hit by the Hurricanes, and I think Johnny Lazarus brought it to attention on social media. I don't remember, but yeah, Devils weren't laying that many hits compared to the first 3 games of this series. All right. Devils trail 3-1. It was a pretty good showing in game 3. But if I had to give the Devils a letter grade, it's the playoffs. I expect a little bit better. They took a couple steps backwards. Game 2, game 3, they performed better, but they reverted back to their habits in game 1. I get they're shorthanded, but I expected a better effort, especially what happened in game 3. So I'm going to have to give the Devils a D-. I won't give them a failing grade because I get it. They're missing a lot of key assets, but yeah, I expected way better. This was very disappointing from start to finish, and you could just hear a pin drop inside the Prudential Center after the Hurricanes scored the first goal of the game, because I think everybody knew right then and there the Devils were in trouble. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Devils can overcome a 3-1 deficit? Do you think there's still hope? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again. I still am holding my Dennis Cholowski bobblehead, if you're wondering what that noise is, if you're listening on podcast streaming service. All right, signing out for real this time.